Hello, my name is Ebony Camaria, licensed clinical social worker with the Oasis Treatment Center. Today's video is going to go over the vocabulary words for this week's set of lessons. So we'll go through all the words and their definitions at once so that we can better understand the lessons to come. The first word we're defining is anxiety, and anxiety is when you have a feeling of fear or apprehension about what's to come. Anxiety is a normal reaction to danger or worry. Anxiety is something that we all experience, and it is only when it becomes disruptive to our life do we get into diagnosis territory. The next word we're defining is a trigger, and that is an event that causes an emotional response. So anything can be a trigger. All that has to happen is an event happens and then a person follows that event up with a strong emotional response, and that would be their trigger. The next word is behavior. We're defining behavior as anything a person does in response to a situation or stimuli. The next word is thoughts, and these are ideas or opinions that are produced in our mind. The next word is feelings, and this is a person's emotional state or their reaction to their environment. The next is racing thoughts. Racing thoughts are fast-moving and often repetitive thought patterns that can be overwhelming. The last word for the anxiety section of our vocabulary list would be restlessness, and that's the feeling of being able to relax as a result of anxiety. The next set of words comes from our mood disorders lesson. We'll describe mood as an emotional state that lasts anywhere from a few minutes to several weeks. We'll define illnesses as diseases or periods of sickness affecting the mind or the body. A mood disorder is defined as an illness that is described as that has caused a serious change in mood. And then we can give a few different examples of mood disorders. Depression or anxiety or even a bipolar would all be considered mood disorders. The next category would be depression, and we are going to define depression as a mood disorder characterized by low mood, a feeling of sadness, and or a general interest of loss in your life. We're going to define sad as a feeling of unhappiness, worthless as feeling insignificant or like you're not enough. The next word is tired, and that's a feeling of being in need of sleep or having no energy. Lost is to feel aimless or without direction or not feeling like you belong. Help is when you are able to provide assistance to someone who needs it. And we're going to talk more about that later, because help is only help if the person wanted that to happen. Otherwise, it's just infringing on their autonomy. Overload is to stress beyond tolerance or capacity. Overload is when you give or you take too much. The last section we're going to do is bipolar disorder, and the vocabulary we have associated with that would first be defining bipolar disorder, and that's a mental health condition that causes extreme mood swings that include emotional highs, which we call mania or hypermania, as well as lows, which would be our depression. Manic is described as being extremely elevated and an excitable mood. Different people's mania can include different symptoms, such as feelings of grandiosity or talking too much or engaging in enjoyable activities too much, going over the top from a person's normal mood. Stabilizers are drugs that help stop the significant mood swings that people with bipolar disorder commonly experience. Fault is a diagnosis of a person's responsibility, but it is not necessarily it's not saying that they're the cause of that responsibility. And the last word is guilt, and this is when someone feels responsible or regretful for a perceived offense, real or imaginary. And later this week we'll get into how feelings of guilt are equally as valid whether or not the environment created it. Whether or not something has happened does not stop a person from feeling guilty. So we'll talk more about that. That concludes our list of vocabulary words. And as I said before, these are the words that we're gonna find sprinkled throughout our different videos that follow up for this week. Questions, comments, concerns? Leave them in the comments below.